shower. We get taken care of pretty well here. We have a little bump here out in the street. Everybody hold on. All right. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
All right. My name is Mark Jackson. I'm a licensed tour guide here with the city of Charleston. Over here to my right, over to your left, that is going to be Scott. He's going to be doing our driving today. He's doing a little bit of training. We're very big on our training here at Palmetto Carriage. And the two mules we have up front pulling us are going to be Lightfoot and Telly. Now, this is everybody's first time in Charleston. You guys been here before?
First time.
All right, first timers. I like first timers. I can tell you anything I want. So if I tell you the South won the war, you guys are okay with that, right? I am a good old Southern boy. I actually hail from Memphis, Tennessee. That's actually the oldest Anglican congregation, or the oldest Church of England congregation south of Williamsburg, Virginia. Now, have you guys heard of a little show called FlipShare House?
Yes.
Here's the thing about FlipShare House. Produced right here in Charleston. And before those people who actually thought that show were ever thought of, we played it even better than in Charleston. They called it Flip This Church. That church didn't used to sit there. That church actually used to sit on present-day Meeting Street. That is because in 1750 the congregation had a little bit of an argument, so they split. The oldest congregation moved and built this building in 1838, and then the other congregation, founded in 1751, laid their cornerstone in 1752. That gave the newest congregation the oldest church building in the state of South Carolina. Not too bad, all right? Drink and be married, but to eat, drink, and be with Mary. Not to be married in early Charleston. We are a very social city. It's like threading a really big needle sometimes. Now over there on the left-hand side, you can see a wonderful example of what is known as wrought ironwork. Wrought is said it is wrought iron because it actually beaten into its shape by a blacksmith's hand. That ironwork was actually executed by a man by the name of Jacob Rowe, R-O-H. Now the difference between the two types of ironwork you'll see here in Charleston, wrought iron is actually beaten into shape by a blacksmith's hand to make moderately ornate shapes. Then you have cast iron, which is where molten iron is poured into a mold or a cast to make highly ornate shapes. Those shapes are impossible to make by hand. So the easiest way to tell the difference, wrought iron, highly skilled labor, although moderately ornate. Cast iron, less skilled labor, and it is highly ornate. But you can actually say that they are both handmade because, of course, you have to use your hands to pour the iron into the mold. So, over on the left-hand side, that's the Mother Church of Lutherans in the South. That is St. John's Lutheran Church. Now, St. John's Lutheran Church, as you see, is right next to the Unitarian Church. And that is a block and a half down from the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist Catholic Church. As I said, we have over 187 churches within 3 square miles of land. That's why they call it the Holy City. Now, that it happened because we actually wrote into the fundamental constitution of the Carolina colony, which was written by a man we should all know from our history books, Mr. John Locke. He was actually the secretary for Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, who was the grand surveyor for the colony of Charleston. Now, the Unitarian Church is actually built in the Gothic style of architecture. It's called Gothic because all the points point upward towards God. It's considered one of the oldest Unitarian congregations in America. It dates all the way back to 1772. It actually used to quarter horses during the Revolutionary War, and then it was rededicated in the early 1800s, badly damaged by the earthquake in 1886. Hello. They range between $1,000 to $1,500 per square foot of home. Now, the other problem with Broad Street is that we don't have the right-of-way, and there's no light here. So sometimes we do just have to sit here every once in a while. It just happens like that. Now, another thing you'll find in the South Broad neighborhood is that you will only find family-owned business and residents. You will find tour guides like myself and the guy here, Scott. You will also find tourists like yourselves and the residents. That's it. That's all she wrote in South of Broad. There's no Walmarts, no Kmarts, no any type of those. The only thing you will find south of Broad are family-owned businesses and bed and breakfast. It is zoned completely residential. We get across here in just a second. You would think that a 4,000-pound carriage had the right away, right? Doesn't work like that sometimes. Yep. But once we block the road, they're not going to hit us. Thank God. Everybody, congratulations. You're all now SOBs. Everybody say yay. So when you came to Charleston, you can say, you know what, I was an SOB for about 45 minutes. And they'll say, well, what happened? Well, I crossed the street. Now, as we continue down across the bar, you can see and listen to what these people get to hear. Nothing. So quiet. As I said, zone residential. Also noise ordinances in this area. Oh yes, the way how the lots intersect, that also was done depending on the area of the city. A lot of Charleston is actually reclaimed land or landfill. And on some of these homes, I said fire is a recurring theme. So if a home was destroyed that originally stood like this on the property line, then they may still use the original property lines, but they would actually tilt or skew the house to corner in on those property lines. That's why some of them don't seem to match up. That's because the house that would have been there was probably destroyed. Now we're on the right-hand side. That is known as the DeBose Hayward House. DeBose Hayward was actually a playwright here in Charleston. He wrote a story about a slave by the name of Porgy. He got together with George and Ira Gershwin, who were vacationing out on Folly Beach, and wrote, I heard it somewhere, Porgy and Bess, with DeBose Hayward doing the libretto. Now sometimes it's not about the area you live in, it's what's in front of your house. That house over on the right-hand side sold for $4.9 million. This one, not because of the size of the house, but because those are the oldest crepe myrtle trees in the state. They go almost back to the 1700s. Now we know that not because we cut any of them down, because of course they're older than 75 years, and under that preservation law, they can't even be torn down by the hands of man. Now we know that because they are the tallest crepe myrtle trees in the state. And also, crepe myrtle trees, if you plant them too close together, will actually grow and twine around each other. Now, they also settlers coming up the Ashley River. They went up the Ashley River about 4 miles and is now known as Charlestown Landing. That there is actually one of our drawbridges. We have some very famous bridges here, too. We actually have the longest cable stayed bridge in North America. That is known as the Arthur J. Ravenel Bridge. Now, you'll notice over here on the left-hand side, these bushes are actually oleander. We don't have to worry about the mules grazing on oleander because oleander is poisonous. Even the mules know that. Now I have to tell you a warning. We don't know if this story is true, but it could have possibly been. That said, I can tell you the story. Oleander makes a very sweet tea. No, it's not the sweet tea we feed the tourists. We don't do that. We're not that mean. Now, here's the thing. We would actually make oleander tea, and if you're poisoned by oleander, you don't die of poisoning, you die of tachycardia, or a heart attack. Now, here's the thing. They didn't know that back then, so they thought you died of natural causes, that you weren't poisoned. So, they actually said that we used to feed that to the British generals in tea. Because what did the British love to drink, even though they were in Charleston? Tea. And of course, we weren't trying to be very hospitable to them, so it could have happened. However, there is no evidence of it, so they kind of tell us not to talk about it too much. But that's actually going to show up later on when I tell you another story. Now, as we continue further down Murray Boulevard, you'll notice that some of these homes may look like they would have belonged in that period of time from around the mid-1800s to around the early 1900s. However, there is a wonderful exception. That brick house you see over there on the left-hand side, it will be coming up in just a few seconds. It's actually built in the Art Deco period of construction. There was a huge demolition room in here in Charleston from the 1920s to the 1940s. Thankfully, our Preservation Society was founded in 1931, historically protecting a good portion of our buildings. Now, they wanted to demolish most of these buildings and build most of these modern homes. Now, the thing is, a lot of these homes were also built before 1931, so now they have been grandfathered in. So even though they may not fit within the period, they are now historically protected and cannot be torn down by the hands of man. Now, those shingles up there on top of that roof in front of us are actually made of terracotta, and they are handcrafted by artisans from Europe. Here comes the Board of Architecture review again. When Hurricane Hugo struck and threw most of those off of that house with Category 5, 165 mile-per-hour winds, that made the owner import artisans from Europe to